we will call to order the Tuesday, September 6th, city council meeting. Start with roll call.
Councilman Becker,
Here.
Councilman Hartwick, here, Councilman Johnson,
Here.
Councilman Schultz,
Here.
President Scheer.
Here. Agenda item 3 is public hearings. This evening we have none. Agenda item 4 is public comment. As a reminder, the council will receive comments from city residents. Comments are generally limited to 3 minutes per individual. Anyone wishing to speak is required to sign up in advance or state the following items for the record when called upon. That would be name, address, subject matter, and contact information. No action will be taken on public comments unless the item is also elsewhere on the agenda. Do we have anyone signed up in person? We have nobody signed up in person. I'm guessing Chief Roush probably is going to be speaking to us later, but this will be a first call for public comment. This is a second call for public comment. This is a third and final call for public comment. Seeing none, hearing none, we move right along to agenda item number 5, which is our consent agenda. The consent agenda that is outlined is presented for action by the city council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda on the request of any one council member. Items not removed may be adopted by one action without debate. Removed items may be taken up either immediately after the consent agenda or placed later on the agenda at the discretion of the council president.
I will move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussions regarding these items? All of those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Agenda item 6 is petitions, requests, and communications. This evening we have none. Agenda item 7 is resolutions and ordinances. 7A is the first reading of an ordinance annexing the territory located at W6124 Sunset Avenue to the city of Port Atkinson.
Thank you. Good evening. This annexation request is for a single family home that's currently in the town of Koshkonong on Sunset Avenue. It's kind of on the south end of town. This property does have sewer and water stubbed into the property at the right of way, public sewer and water. The property itself does have a deferred assessment for that sewer and water in the amount of roughly $13,000 that the applicant has agreed to pay upon annexation. The Planning Commission reviewed this at their August 23rd meeting and recommended this move forward to City Council for consideration. There is a state review process that is ongoing. I believe the state has 30 days to review the application. We don't have any expectation that there would be any concerns with it. So we haven't received any input from the public regarding this annexation. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Andy, can you just confirm that this is just a request that a residential property owner can make at their discretion, or?
They can,
Okay.
they can choose to come in at any time. This particular individual had a failing septic system, which I think drove the decision more than anything else. But regardless, any property that is in the town can request to be annexed in and go through this
They are
process.
contiguous.
That are contiguous, sure. Although we, yeah, that are contiguous.
I move to direct the city manager to prepare this ordinance for a second reading at the city council meeting on September 20th, 2022.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? This will be a roll call vote.
Councilman Becker,
Aye.
Councilman Hartwick.
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman Schultz.
Aye.
President Scheer.
Aye. That carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 8 is reports of officers, boards, and committees. 8A is the city manager's report.
Thank you. I was fortunate to attend the League of Wisconsin Municipalities Chief Executives Conference on August 18th and 19th in Brookfield. It was a really great opportunity to connect with colleagues and learn about successes and challenges in other communities. The overall takeaway from the conference is that we need to do more work with our legislators to try to fix our local government funding problem. The system for local government funding relies very heavily on taxing our residents and property owners And we do need help from our legislators to fix that. So I hope that we can continue our relationship with the League of Wisconsin Municipalities and look to them for some of their strategies that they will be preparing and providing to member municipalities in the future to work with our legislators to work towards different funding options for local government. The city council did participate in a tax increment district workshop tonight. We continue to work on developing 2 new tax increment districts, one on the northwest side of the city to support new development and one on the northeast side of the city to support redevelopment opportunities. The Joint Review Board representing the city's other taxing jurisdictions and the Plan Commission will review these project plans later this month. Those project plans are available on the city's website for review. The Loan Review Committee and the Economic Development Commission approved another Capital Catalyst revolving loan for Bronx Bakery to be located at 1220 Janesville Avenue. We will have a check presentation on Monday, September 12th at 3 p.m. in this room with the applicants and members of the Loan Review Committee, Economic Development Commission, city staff and city council, whoever can make that. We continue to work on the 2023 budget and 2023 through 2028 capital improvements budget. The Finance Committee will meet on September 13th and the first budget workshop will take place on October 11th. On August 31st, we were able to open the Robert Street Bridge with a well-attended ribbon cutting ceremony. I want to express my appreciation to the DOT, Zenith Tech, city staff, including our city engineer, Andy Selly, who managed the project locally, as well as the neighbors of the bridge who had to deal with early morning and late evening noise and inconvenience, and to our residents and our guests for all of their patience. The safety improvements on the bridge for pedestrians alone, I think has really been worth the wait. If anybody hasn't yet walked on that, I would encourage you to do so. The new signals and decorative streetlights will be installed this fall, and then the project will be complete. And that is all I have tonight.
Thank you. And not that we fielded many complaints on the bridge, but I have heard nothing but positive feedback. So thank you for what I'm sure involved some long evenings and tireless phone calls. So
But they hit the deadline.
they did hit the deadline. Agenda item 9 is unfinished business. This evening we have none. Agenda item 10 is new business. 10A is the review and possible action relating to a special event, adult recess, Friday, September 23rd, 2022 at Jones Park.
Yes, thank you. So the Parks and Recreation Department hosts a couple of events throughout the year. And one thing we're learning while we're developing our comprehensive outdoor recreation plan is that the community can see more special events and adult offerings. So my husband and I recently attended an adult recess event at Sun Prairie Parks and Recreation. And it was the bomb, so much that we're going to bring it to Fort. So essentially it's a 21 and older free event scheduled for Friday, September 23rd from 6 to 9 at night at Jones Park. We'll have organized games such as kickball, capture the flag, dodgeball, and then for those who are a little more fragile, we'll have giant Jenga, giant Connect 4, some glow disc golf, and then other games to play throughout the night. And then we're also working with the Generals baseball team to have the concession stand open for food and beverages available for purchase. The Sun Prairie event had about 150 attendees. I am estimating we'll have around 200. I really have no idea since it'll be our first event we're running. So we recommend everyone clear their schedules and attend adult recess Friday, September 23rd. And then with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'm just curious, Brooke, is the hope to make this kind of more of a frequent thing, or for this to be kind of a, fall, I don't know if the idea is like grown up back to school thing, that it would stay an annual event, or is the thought to kind of have this be something that would happen at times throughout the year?
Yeah, I'm kind of gauging it from the fall one. I'm hoping to maybe that it's successful, that we can have maybe 2 a year. One in the spring, one in the fall. Everybody's schedules are so busy in the summer that it's just another thing to add in. And if we hear good feedback, then we'll look at adding another one in the summer as well. So we'll look to get some feedback from the fall one. And September is a busy wedding season. I got married and that's my wedding weekend. We're planning it, but my husband will be there. He'll be joining us. So I keep hearing great things that everybody is providing good feedback already and want to see it succeed. Although they might be at a wedding, but they want to see it succeed. So we have a spring one. So we are definitely looking at offering more if it is a success.
Certainly sounds like a fun event. I will also say, when else will you have the chance to throw dodgeballs at your fellow council members? So I think the public really wants to get involved. We'll be there. I'm not volunteering. I'm guessing you guys.
Are you suggesting we should have one of those baseball things where you throw pie into cage?
That too.
Put councilmen's in there?
I will say at the Sun Prairie event, it was kickball, then capture the flag, then dodgeball. So as the night, progressed, everyone got to know each other a little better. And then it was a fun game of dodgeball at the end. And they had some council people playing as well. And we all got to know each other pretty well. And it was fun. We're not a Sun Prairie resident, but those residents got to know their council people as well. And we're going to have rec staff and then senior center staff work do the rules and then check IDs and do the waivers. So then community will get to know Parks and Rec staff a little more too.
Are there gonna maybe be rules available online for those who are too old to remember how to play dodgeball?
We'll go over the rules right before the games. And then we'll pick 2 captains and pick boy, girl, and then line up as boy and girl. And it's really fun. My husband and we were on different teams because we were picked differently. And, we were joking around that, I don't want to get picked last for kickball or, how it was back in the school days.
I'll go ahead and move to approve the special event adult recess Friday, September 23rd, 2022 at Jones Park.
Second,
Motion and some seconds. The excitement is palpable. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank you. We'll see you there.
10B is the review and possible action relating to alcohol beverage license application for the licensing period of September 7th, 2022 to June 30th, 2023.
Thank you. This was presented and reviewed by the License Committee and recommended to City Council. At the time of the License Committee, the background check had not been returned yet. I'm happy to say the background check has been returned and is cleared and is a thumbs up and a signature by Chief Bum. So that's always a good sign. This is a license that's currently held by NK Gas and Food, located at the same location, 1012 South Whitewater Avenue. It is across from the Armory, for reference, just around the corner from Rockwell Avenue. The location has a Class A intoxicating liquor and Class A fermented malt beverage license. As we have reached the quota on the Class A liquor, the current owner that's selling the business has agreed to surrender the license contingent upon approval of the new owner. I know the seller, he's been looking to sell and retire for a few years. So I think he's very happy that this is going through. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any. They also had applied for a cigarette license, which does not require any other approvals, however, just clarifying so the council is aware.
I'll go ahead and move to approve the alcohol beverage license applications for licensing period September 7th, 2022 to June 30th, 2023 for Rouhani Gas and Food Incorporated, DBA Shell Food and Liquor at 1012 Whitewater Avenue. Conditioned upon successful background check and all monies owed to the city are paid prior to the issuance.
second,
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. 10C is the review and possible action relating to a letter of engagement from Baker Tilly for TID number 7, 100% audit.
Thank you. So as we've discussed our tax increment district several times tonight, TID number 7 is located in the city's downtown area and was created as a blight elimination TID in January of 2020. The last date to incur project related costs in this TID was January 18th of 2022. Now that no new project costs may be incurred, the city is required to perform a 100% audit. So staff asked the city's auditor, Baker Tilly US LLP, to provide an engagement letter, scope of services, and estimated cost for the audit. The proposal is attached to the memo in the packet. And the estimated cost is between $8,000 and $9,500 for these audit services and the report that will be produced. Baker Tilly would perform this work in 2023, and the estimated cost would be included in the 2023 budget for TID number 7. So staff does recommend that the city council authorize city manager to execute the engagement letter with Baker Tilly US LLP for the TID number 7 100% audit.
Rebecca, can you just confirm, and I know it says in here and you just commented on where it will be, you know, line item wise in the budget, but is this considered a TID expenditure? Sorry.
Yes. So when
So
we
even though we're outside of that timeframe.
So we have administrative costs that the TIDs can pay for beyond new projects. So a new project would be a new road or a new park or land acquisition or a pay-go financing to somebody, to a developer. This would be considered an administrative cost and
Okay.
can be borne by the TID.
Okay, thank you.
I'll move to authorize the city manager to execute the letter of engagement from Baker Tilly US LLP for TID number 7, 100% audit to take place in 2023.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Agenda item 10D is the review and possible action relating to a letter of engagement from Baker Tilly for annual audit services for 2022 through 2024.
Thank you. So the city does have a longstanding relationship with Baker Tilly for auditing services. The current letter of engagement for those services has expired with the completion of the 2021 audited financial statements that were presented to the council this summer. Baker Tilly is proposing a new 3-year agreement through the attached letter of engagement that is included in the packet. Services include auditing the basic financial statements for the city and our utilities for 22, 23, and 24. There will be some additions during additional work required by Baker Tilly during this agreement term due to the receipt of federal funds and new governmental accounting standards board reporting requirements, or GASB. New GASB requirements include tracking all of our leases, and then also a single audit will be required in each of the next 3 years due to the receipt of ARPA funds and our CDBG close grants in 22. So Baker Tilly has proposed costs associated with these auditing efforts. Those are included in table 1. In table 1, we have the year required, the proposed cost by Baker Tilly, and then the proposed increase. So you will see that 2022 financial audit costs represent a 10% increase from the 2021 cost. And I will say that this is an amended proposal that reflects staff's efforts at negotiating a lower cost for all of these services than was initially proposed. We did go back to them and ask for them to reduce those costs. They did do that. They reduced the cost pretty significantly for us, including reduction of the increases over the next couple of years for these services. We discussed a new 5% administrative fee that they have added to all of their contracts, which is a part of the reason for the increase. Also increased cost due to inflation. And some of this is our own fault, as we have created many new funds over the last year and a half, and we have requested additional assistance with our PSC reporting requirements. And it's just those PSC requirements have gotten more complicated due to our water main replacement program implemented in late in 2021. So we believe from staff's perspective that these increasing costs are justified. So the costs for audit services are split between the general fund, wastewater utility, water utility, and stormwater utility. So there's a table in the memo, table 2, that outlines the funds that will be paying for the audit, the 22 audit, which will occur and be paid for in 2023. So these dollar amounts will be budgeted in the 2023 budget in the account numbers listed in table 2. So the auditors at Baker Tilly continue to provide excellent customer service. They're easy to work with and they're very familiar with the city's accounting software and projects. They answer many questions and provide us resources and insight throughout the year. They're responsive and as I said, have excellent customer service. So staff does recommend that the city council authorize the city manager to execute the engagement letter with Baker Tilly US LLP for 2022 through 2024 auditing services, which includes both the financial audit and the single audit.
Rebecca, I'm just curious, obviously there's probably tremendous efficiencies maintained on your part and the staff's part by using a firm that knows the city well and that you've worked with, but I'm just curious if you know, kind of based on those increases, how that potentially compares to other providers.
Yeah, we did go to RFP, or we did seek requests for proposals in 2019 and continued to remain with Baker Tilly. They were not the cheapest at the time. The council at the time decided to remain with Baker Tilly. I do not have data on what other auditing firms would be charging us. However, all of those firms, including Baker Tilly, were all somewhat in line in 2019, the last time we sought data. And we can certainly seek data again in 2024 for the next 3 years.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to authorize the city manager to execute the letter of engagement from Baker Tilly US LLP for annual audit services for 2022 to 2024.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 10E is the review and possible action relating to a proposal from Artisan Graham to list the city-owned parcels in the Clement Business Park.
Thank you. So city staff did receive a proposal from Brandon Housley and Jeff Hoey, representing Artisan Graham Real Estate in early August to represent the city in the marketing, listing, and sale of the city-owned parcels in the Clement Business Park. The current listing agent is Madison Commercial Real Estate. This firm has represented the city since 2019, and our current agreement expired in August of 2021. Prior to that agreement, the listing agent was CBRE Inc. from 2016 to 2019. So Brandon Housley is here tonight. I will let him review the proposal and his thoughts on and strategies that he has for our Clement Business Park. And then he and I can answer any questions the council may have.
Yeah, did you want me to go through the whole thing?
Just can hit the highlights.
Yeah, so I guess, so prior to joining the council, I actually didn't know that there was separate parcels at the Clement Business Park. As of right now, if you go on the MLS, it might be taken off now, but it shows as one parcel at 82 acres for $1.82 million. So I'd skipped over numerous times prior to being on the council because I have no clients that are looking for one parcel for $1.8 million. So had I known that we had parcels at anywhere from 2 to 11 acres, that would have been a whole different story. And that's, joining the council, actually learned that that's what it was. So we just see a big opportunity for the city of Fort Atkinson to be better represented, not only in the MLS, but LoopNet, CoStar, much different spots than we're currently being represented. There was no photos on the MLS as well. So you go and you just see a blank page of nothing. So Jeff has already actually taken many drone photos, highlighted each one of those lots. We plan to reduce the price just slightly to maybe entice more people because it really hasn't seen much action the past 2 years that I'm aware of. But so Jeff really specializes in the Dane County area. I'm more Jefferson County, I'd say some Waukesha and Rock. So we kind of cover a lot of ground there, and he's seeing in Madison, these same size parcels would be probably 5 to 10 times more expensive. And then on top of that, you're also going to pay, I don't even know how much more taxes. So it's a big enticement for people that are looking in our area. You know, it's 25 minutes from Madison. It's 20 minutes from Janesville. It's, you know, it's close to the interstate to get onto Chicago. So there's a lot of people looking for warehouse space, mixed use, that really fit well with what the business park is trying to entice. You know, we had brought at the economic development, was it the economic development?
Yep.
Okay. So we had been asked, what do we think the challenges are? And it's the same with all businesses right now, is finding employment and finding housing. Any new business is going to struggle with that. I know that Space Saver struggles with that. I know that Jones struggles with that. I know that most big businesses in town struggle with that, just because a lot of times we don't have the housing and we don't have the infrastructure right now to get those employees in there. So that's our biggest challenge that we see going forward.
I will just note a couple more things. The Economic Development Commission Chairperson, Jim Nelson, Andy Selly, and I did an interview with Jeff and Brandon. And we do support their proposal here to represent the city. The Economic Development Commission reviewed their proposal and asked questions of them on August 29th, and did recommend that the city council authorize the city manager to sign a 2-year agreement with Artisan Graham to list the city-owned parcels in the Clement Business Park. They are doing so at a discounted commission of 5%, which is actually 1% less than our current the current expired contract, and they have committed to quarterly reports or updates so that we can stay in constant communication relating to the level of interest and who is out there seeking parcels. So the slight decrease in cost per acre that Mr. Housley mentioned is for the lots that have Janesville Avenue frontage, and those would go from $40,000 an acre to $30,000 an acre. All other parcels will remain at $20,000 per acre of land.
Brandon, do you know how much of your, and not necessarily just you personally, but company, how much of your business is commercial versus residential?
For me, it's probably 5%.
Okay.
For Jeff and Corey, it's 99 to 100%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think Jeff said he sold one house this year so far to your
Wow.
family.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think that was his one and only residential
Okay.
sale.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
he's strictly commercial industrial sales.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't
Yeah.
realize it was
Yeah.
that
hmm
skewed that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think between him and Corey, they've sold maybe like 4 houses in the past 2 years,
Okay.
if that. And it's usually just family and friends. So they're strictly commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, obviously not necessarily looking for names or information, but I mean, was part of the idea with this, do you guys potentially think you have prospects or businesses you're working with that?
Potentially, yeah. There's definitely people in the community that businesses are for sale, and they lease from those land owners. You know, if that were to sell and they can't come to terms, and they're gonna have to buy or build. So there is, I mean, not immediately. Jeff knows a lot more just being in commercial. So this is honestly kind of a learning experience for me. I'm kind of just going with Jeff at the moment because he's the expert, to be honest with you. So, but yeah, I know of at least one in town that's going to be on the verge if that building sells, that he's going to most likely have to build. So.
And I will say Jeff wanted to be here tonight, but he is watching a volleyball game.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
he did attend the Economic Development Commission meeting.
Rebecca, to your knowledge, did the previous 2 companies, CBRE or Madison Commercial Real Estate, did they have like local ties in the community?
I do not know about CBRE. Madison Commercial does have local, I mean, they're Madison based. The principal there is Mike Hurl. He does own other property in the city of Fort Atkinson.
Yeah, I said at the Economic Development Commission meeting, Brendan, I like the approach you guys are bringing. I like the freshening things up on the MLS listings and everything else that you've outlined. And I think, having somebody like yourself with more of the local connections. Not that our previous listing agents didn't try in their efforts, but I think the fresh approach that your firm is bringing, I think will hopefully work out better in the long run for us.
Appreciate that. Yeah. And so as of right now, it's listed as one. So you really got to look through it to find out what's for sale. We plan to list each one as a separate MLS listing. So every single parcel is going to have its own MLS site. So it's going to be out there just a ton more than it currently is.
I move to authorize the city manager to sign a 2-year agreement with Artisan Graham Real Estate to list the city-owned parcels in the Clement Business Park.
Second.
We have a motion and a couple seconds. Any further discussion, questions? All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion carries.
All right.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you guys very much.
Agenda item 10F is the review and possible action relating to a tentative agreement between the Fort Atkinson Professional Police Association Local 40 and the City of Fort Atkinson.
Thank you. So the city of Fort Atkinson has an agreement with the Fort Atkinson Professional Police Association in accordance with state statutes, which is the union contract. The current contract expires at the end of 2022 and is included in the packet for reference. In August, representatives from the Wisconsin Professional Police Association, the Fort Atkinson Police Department, city staff, and the Finance Committee successfully negotiated a new tentative agreement for 2023 through 2025. That agreement includes in addition to Article 6 relating to remote appearance, an option for court appearances. It cleans up some pay period language to reflect the current practice in Article 7. It does address salaries for the next 2 years, and that's outlined in the memo. The new hires who must attend the academy will be paid $22 throughout the term of the agreement. And effective 1/1/23 will have a 1% increase for those up to 36 months of service within the union and a 3% increase for those over 36 months of service. Also effective 6/25/22, there will be an additional 2% increase for those over 36 months of service. Effective 1/1/24, there will be a 3% increase for all, except those who have to attend the academy, and then with a wage reopener in 2025. Some of the other items included in the tentative agreement are the changes to the clothing allowance, general small increase for the first 2 years reimbursed by the city as well as per officer in the following years. There is an amendment to the grievance procedure outlined in the contract to allow for 3 arbitrators if the committee that reviews those does not have 5 available. And then the term is for 3 years. So the estimated financial impact of this tentative agreement over the 3 years, noting that does not include the impact of a 2025 wage reopener, is just over $76,000. And staff does recommend that the council approve the tentative agreement between the city of Fort Atkinson and the Fort Atkinson Professional Police Association Local Number 40 and authorize the city manager authorize the execution of the agreement after final review by the Finance Committee, the city manager, and the police chief. I will also note that the Fort Atkinson Professional Police Association did review this on August 31st, and they did approve this tentative agreement.
This was, for whatever reason, I've been lucky or fortunate, however you want to look at, to be on the Finance Committee for basing my entire time on the city council. This is my 4th round of collective bargaining I've been part of, and it's not as bad as some people would make it out to be. It hasn't been that contentious overall, and I think it ensures that we're doing our best to support our local police officers, but at the same time also making sure that the agreement makes fiscal sense for the local taxpayers here in Fort Atkinson. So I think overall our police local has been good to work with, and I appreciate how they've understood that the city doesn't have unlimited financial resources. They understand the fiscal realities we face, and I'm glad we were able to once again come to an amicable agreement.
I would ditto all of that, and just wanted to mention too, the thought and attention that was put in by our city manager to really clean up what was a bit of a convoluted contract a little bit. So this is my first time going through that process and really just appreciated the care and attention to detail for some changes that were made that I think will make it an even smoother and easier process going forward between the city and the union.
I would just like to express my comfort in that Mason is for this. Mason, I got a lot of respect for your business acumen and sense. And if you're for it, that'll makes it much more comfortable for me to say, yeah, that's a good idea.
I appreciate that, Bruce. Thank you.
Anybody care to make a motion on it?
I'll move to approve the tentative agreement between the Fort Atkinson Professional Police Association, local number 40, and the city of Fort Atkinson, and authorize execution of the agreement after final review by the Finance Committee, city manager, and the police chief.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
aye,
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 10G is the review and possible action related to wastewater treatment plant phase 2 improvements, a project change order number 5 aeration equipment substitution.
Hello, everybody. So there's actually the next, this item and then the next two after this also are all change orders related to the phase 2 construction. One is for another company that went out of business, our aeration equipment supplier. That would be, so that's change order 5, change order 6 is related to the condition of the 16-inch valves in our raw influent pumping system that the bodies were found to be in poor condition and not reusable. And then change order 7 is related to a credit actually for concrete work for grouting on the primary clarifiers that was not needed because of the condition of those clarifier floors being in good shape and not needing any work. So Kevin Berg from our consultant Donahue Associates is here, and he's actually going to go through all 3 items, and I will be over here ready to help answer questions.
Thanks, Paul. So again, Kevin Berg at Donahue, project manager for the construction project, and was involved in the design as well. I was here back in April, kind of talking about the first incident that we had. I'll kind of start by saying that I went uptown earlier for a bite to eat, and the crow was good. So I believe it in April, I had said to Councilwoman Hartwick there that the chance of me coming back for a related topic was very low. And here we are. So as Paul said, I'll try to keep this brief. We've been expedient to this point, so I won't bore you with these 3, but any specific questions, interrupt me, whatever we got, I'll try to keep it to the high points. So change order 5 is related directly to the aeration equipment. So this is in the aeration basins and in the aerobic digesters. Small modifications in the basins, more modification in the digesters. No real major event here aside that the selected supplier, Aquarius Technologies up in Cedarburg, kind of went dark on us about 6 or 8 months ago, and communication dropped off from there. And in late July, kind of put notice out to Staub that they would not be fulfilling their contract, Staub being the general contractor for the overall project. Staub told us that, and we had kind of gotten the inkling based on no phone calls, emails being returned, the local rep, William Reed, also not having any ability to contact them. So they went through the same process that we did with Ultrafloat back in April. Staub terminated their contract with Aquarius. We solicited 3 prices from the other suppliers that were named in the original bid, evaluated those, made a recommendation, and Paul moved forward with selecting SSI, sorry, blanked on that for a second. SSI, which is another supplier. So these are all very similar equipment, very few functional differences between any of them. The price difference is largely related to just industry cost increases in the last 2 years. There's some modest differences in some of their cleaning equipment and some small pipe size differences, but aside from that, it's really just increases in PVC and stainless steel over the last couple of years. So very little else to say on that, aside from it's extremely rare to have major suppliers like this go out of business. Aquarius is not a small supplier. They're a regional national firm, putting out products to multiple projects that we're involved with. And just, it's really kind of a shame, honestly. They're a good local supplier of good quality equipment that just apparently can't get it done. So any questions on that particular topic?
And I'm just curious, I mean, it's nice to see, obviously, it's an increase for the change order, but between those 3 bids that came in, do you know why SSI is so much lower than the other 2? I mean, obviously, that's good news. I was just surprised to see such a difference.
Yeah, so we didn't press on that too much, just
Yeah,
because
fair.
it's good news. We did validate that they didn't miss anything.
Okay.
We specifically talked that over with their representative, Dryden Inc. They were comfortable in the pricing they gave us. I think the difference is largely due to workload. So Sanitaire is obviously, I would say probably a little bit bigger name than the others, multinational. And as Aquarius scuttled, everyone else scattered. And Sanitaire had extremely long lead times as well. So I think it's largely that, just where it might be workload based and just pricing.
Question either Kevin or somebody, even though it is a shame this is going up from what we were originally planning, this is still within the contingency that we had budgeted, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So we get the exact numbers. I did include that because I know we talked about it last time. So these are sequential 5, 6, and 7. You'll find different values in that contingency area, assuming that they were approved moving forward, 5, 6, and 7. So change order 5, the remaining value of the contingency fund for the project is just over $413,000, or at about 62% of its original value. The project itself is almost 71 or 72% complete as of last month's pay app. So we kind of got to do the inverse numbers there. We only have 29% of the project left to go and over 40% of our contingency left. So we're on pace. We're doing fine with contingency wise.
Looks like we're in good shape then.
Yeah.
I will move to approve the wastewater treatment plant Phase 2 improvements project change order 5 aeration equipment substitution in the amount of $28,184.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion, questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We'll jump right into 10H, which is the review and possible action related to wastewater treatment plant Phase 2 improvements, change order number 6.
Okay, thanks for your consideration on the previous item. Moving into this one. So location of the plant now is kind of switching from middle to very front of the plant. Everything comes in the lowest sewer into the main headworks area of the facility, approximately 35 feet underground or so. 3 pumps will be 4 pumps. Pumps lift the water from there up to kind of gravity flow through the rest of the process. That main header that is there has 6 large valves in it, 16-inch valves that are original to the 1971 construction of the facility. So we've gotten our life out of those and some. They're a full 50 years old at this point. The design originally had included full replacement of the valves, but for budget considerations, we had eliminated that effort. And really, they showed no issues from the outside in. So but we knew we had, lifetime problems there. So the design included removal of the internal components. So largely, these consist of a big housing and then a rotating assembly inside of them. You can just remove the internals and replace those. So you kind of a rehab, recondition, if you will. It's much more affordable than replacing these large valves, which are increasingly more expensive now with supply chain issues and increased spending in the infrastructure market. These have gotten increasingly more expensive and difficult to obtain. So as the work progressed and we actually got to the point where these valves were being taken out or the internals were removed and rehabbed, included some photos in there of the actual condition. pretty significant corrosion was found on the internal portions of the valves, which are impossible to have inspected previously. Because flow through the area is continuous, there's no timing to be able to take those out and have had prior knowledge to know what condition they were really in. So the recommendation from the local rep, Dorner, who's a valve supplier, they had their senior tech out, inspected them. He noted that those valve bodies would not provide long-term leak-proof service. He said you might get a couple of years, you might get 5 years, you might get 0 years. Really, it's hard to say. So they could, it's kind of like putting, new tires on a used car at this point, where you might get service out of it. You could have the whole thing, kick the bucket the next day and be out everything you put into it. So they did some hunting, found a couple valve bodies. So it's basically you got part A and part B. We have all the part A's, and they found some more part B's that we could put together and replace the whole thing pretty much. So the two they found in Minneapolis are available pretty much now. The other 4 to complete the work have to come from the factory and are approximately 14 or 15 weeks out. But the recommendation from them was to go ahead and get Marion parts and proceed with replacing those valves. They are critical to operation of the plant. They isolate the main flow meter, and also it's bypass. So if you don't have trip tight service, it can pretty significantly impact maintenance operations there, should you need to take that flow meter out or service it. So the recommendation our recommendation was to we evaluated purchasing all new valves and just getting the entire package versus getting these, basically the second half of what we needed. And they were just not even nearly cost competitive. The quote was included. I believe the price to supply the full valves was, the complete replacement price of the full valves was in the neighborhood of $132,000 just for materials, which included a pretty hefty restocking fee to Dorner. And then the valve bodies themselves for 6 of them were approximately $22,000. The remainder of the change is labor time for the general contractor to remove the old bodies, which were not included in the project, to be removed, and to reinstall the new bodies. And then Dorner will install those rotating assemblies after that. So pretty straightforward, unfortunate cost, but one that would have been included in the bid if we had included that work at the time. Really just an effort to save a few bucks. That didn't pan out once the valves were actually inspected.
I'm just curious, I know it says in here that you don't know yet the exact final cost because you don't really know exactly the time that it's gonna take to do this work. So the number of hours that are in the quote, is that just kind of based on an estimate, or does that include a bit of a buffer of, we think it'll be this much, so we added X% more than that?
I didn't comment on that. So we did take take that initial proposal to Staub and ask them to do it on a T&M basis because of the unknown conditions. The old valves could be a real bear to take out, or they could come out pretty easily. They put their best effort with their superintendent and project manager to assign a reasonable number of hours, plus a little bit. I think they have the large difficulty in the work is honestly not so much getting the valves out, it's giving yourself a work area to do it. The individual valves weigh over 700 pounds each, and we're working in like a 35-foot vertical space with really nothing around. The photo doesn't really do it justice, but that's where a lot of the time comes from. There's, it's a few hours a piece to get them out and get them in, and the remainder is setting up rigging to get it done. So the way it's structured is that is their estimate. It's not a direct quote. Paul's staff and our staff on site will work to, monitor the contractor. It's extra work for them in a tight schedule anyway, so they're not going to spend any more time doing it than they have to. But yeah, the final price of this will be known once we have the final hours computed.
Well, I think this makes sense, so I'll make the motion to approve the wastewater treatment plant phase 2 improvements project change order number 6, influent wastewater valve body replacement in an amount not to exceed $70,314.
Second.
Motion and a second. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And 10I is the review and possible action related to wastewater treatment plant phase 2 improvements, project change order 7. This is a credit. You can always come back with these.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you have to.
Nope, I've saved the ice cream for after dinner, so. This, like Paul said, there's not a whole lot of technical jargon to this one. This was done as a bid alternate at the start of the project. In the actual bidding phase, so the city had the option of whether to select this work to do it or not. It was taken on because the pricing was fair. And so we got into the actual tankage, the condition was better than expected, and there was no real reason to pursue the work. So because we had a bid price as an alternate, we were able to get that full bid price back, rather than trying to wring and squeeze hours and materials back out of the contractor on a change order negotiation basis. So it's a pretty square deal, a simple in and out transaction, but like I said, it's a good news. We're usually not here for the best news, so it's nice to be able to deliver one like this once in a while. We had it, like I said, we had our structural engineers review it. Very little concern about any future issues, not kicking the can down the road or short-sighted decision on it either. Really, it's underwater concrete, so it sees very little corrosion and issues. It's usually at the interface between water and air where you see the worst of things. So it's a pretty safe decision. And then kind of going back to contingency at this point. So after having accepted 5, 6, and then crediting back 7, the project contingency will be at about $384,000 or 57% of the original contingency. So we took a little bit out, gave a little back, and we've got about 385,000 left in contingency funds.
I move to approve the wastewater treatment plant phase 2 improvements project change order 7, primary clarifier floor replacement credit, accepting a credit of $42,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you
Thank
for your time.
you.
I won't ask you if you're coming back.
Yes. Yeah, we'll take that in writing too. Yeah. Agenda item 11 miscellaneous. This evening we have none. Agenda item 12 is claims appropriations and contract payments. 12A is the review and possible action relating to verified claims presented by the Director of Finance and authorization of payment.
Move to approve list of verified claims presented by the Director of Finance and authorized payment.
Second.
Motion and a second. This is a roll call vote.
Councilman Becker,
Aye.
Councilman Hartwick,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman Schultz.
Aye.
President Shear.
Aye, that motion carries. Takes us to agenda item 13, which is adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned.